Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. And if I have to boil entrepreneurship down to its simplest form, it is innovators who see a problem and take action to actually fix that problem. And that's why I love today's entrepreneur story, because this is someone who's solving a problem that I guarantee every single one of us faces. And I am just as guilty as the rest of them, because when people ask me, hey, what have you watched lately for TV shows or for movies? I always say, well, I don't really watch TV or movies, because every time I sit down to do that, I just end up scrolling for 10 minutes, getting frustrated, and then completely bouncing. And that's why I love that today's guest and fellow entrepreneur is out to fix that problem. So let me introduce you to him. His name is Chris Pearcey. Chris is the founder of Decisio Media, which is a startup reimagining how we discover what to watch in the age of endless content. With a background in product and engineering leadership, Chris has built and scaled technology at companies like Nike and AWS. Now he's channeling that experience into solving one of the most relatable problems in modern entertainment: decision fatigue. Chris is passionate about user experience, indie films, and building tools that make everyday life just a little bit easier and a lot more fun. This is someone that views the entire entertainment industry, even extrapolating out to the world of books and podcasts one day in the future, in a whole new light, and someone who's shaking that industry up in positive ways that help creators, that help consumers. That's why I'm excited about this one. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Chris Pearcey. All right, Chris, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Heck yes. I think that your business is so freaking cool, and I'm excited for us to geek out about all things Decisio. But before we dive into that stuff, take us beyond the bio. Who's Chris? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah, so it's interesting. You know, when I was in high school, I had my first computer, Windows 3.1. My mom would love to break it. I'd have to figure out how to fix it. So I've always been tinkering, trying to make things better. As time has gone on, I have found that my niche in data. I love data. It tells a story. I've done some amazing things with data over time, specifically at Nike, helping Asia Pacific and Latin America get their demand forecast to a profitable margin. Right before, unfortunately, they workforce reduction, lost an opportunity there, moved on to AWS. Where I got to do many other amazing things there with data as well. The analytics space, I think, is unlimited, tells us the future, helps us make determinations, and helps us make decisions.
Yeah, I love that overview, especially because I think it's cool that you've taken those experiences and really piled them on for obviously the founding of your own company, which solves a cultural and societal problem. We're talking at that scale, Chris. So talk to us, introduce us to Decisio. What was the origin? Because obviously it's a pain that we all feel, but what I really want to hear from you is what sparked you to take action on it? Because we all feel those frustrations, but few people take action.
Yeah, so we all have our old familiar items we like to watch when we can't find things to watch. So it was a couple years ago, I was laying on the couch trying to find something to watch. I got the decision fatigue, so I threw The Office on. That might go-to if I can't find anything else to watch. While I threw it on, I started doom scrolling, found an article about online dating and what folks who had met their significant others missed the most. And what was interesting is the top two items that folks missed the most was the swiping item of it. So at that moment, the light bulb went off. I was like, well, what if there was an app to help you decide what to watch or read or play that you swipe on, kind of like dating? You know, it's the same kind of concept. So I expanded a little bit. I came up with this idea of this four-way swiping, which, by the way, is a patent pending as well, utility patent for rating systems. So we came up with a four-way rating system for you can either say you've seen something, read something, played it, so yes or no, I like it. If I've done it, if I haven't, I can swipe up or down, saying I want to see it, don't want to see it, or want to read it, play it, all the other verticals there, to then start to understand what you like. So the more you swipe, the more it understands. So then when you go to say, tell me what to watch, it's going to really be able to curate to what you want to see. In addition, if you look at Netflix right now, there's 8,000 titles on there between movies and shows. I bet you think there's about 50 titles, though, based on what it shows you. So 8,000 titles, over 2,000 Bollywood titles, which I was actually blown away from. And we know, right now in the United States alone, we have a very large multicultural demographics here with a lot of folks, from India as well. So even for folks, that are here, that are not native born, there's opportunities for them to actually find content they want to watch that, brings them back home. I have added Korean as well, so you can watch your Korean horror shows. So I've really, tried to tailor this experience so folks can find the things that they want to see versus what the studios force on us. Going a little bit deeper, if you look at a company like Rotten Tomatoes, who does their rating systems, they've been caught recently, doing things that they inflate things that help them make money. Because for those that don't know, Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes, and then Universal is the parent company of both. So what we're trying to do is also level the playing field, so you get the content you want, not what the streaming providers or the production companies think you should be watching.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you talk about that, because really where my entrepreneurial mind goes is how frequently in business we always come back to who is it that you want to serve. And Chris, I'm so interested to hear the way that you view who it is that you're serving, because I'll transparently share that from the surface level, it seems to me like you're serving all sides of this equation, because me as a consumer, you solve a very big frustration of mine, but also for the streaming platforms, I feel like you're solving a big problem for them. I'm someone who often cancels. I fall out of love with streaming platforms very frequently because I'll sign up to watch a specific show. I don't know what to watch after that, so I have no purpose for, all these 50 different streaming platforms that we're all subscribed to these days. Where do you see Decisio fitting into that media landscape? Because, like I said, it feels like it solves a lot of problems.
It does, and just to give you a couple stats real quick before I dive into that, the average, if you have the top 9 streaming services, you're paying more than you were for cable. So keep that in mind. Most people who have a streaming service have 5 or more. So you're spending a lot of money. So I am trying to service both sides. I'm trying to get bang for your buck out at the streaming providers, while at the same time the streaming providers really understand what people want, so they can start to actually give us the things we want to see versus the things they think are going to make them money. Because in the long run, that's going to end up making them more money, in my opinion. A couple other stats too of who I'm servicing. 32% of all people who try to find something to watch give up. That's a huge number. 80% of all viewings are done based on recommendations. So if you take the intersection of those two numbers, there's a very, very large number of people out there who are not getting any value, or they might not even have a streaming service because, like you said in your case, you cancel if you don't have the value anymore. So really, this will also help folks stay on the streaming platforms that work for them. We also want to help eventually tell you what streaming providers are curated for you better than others. So that way you can also limit the 9 down to 2 or 3. So really want to help both ends of this when it comes to the entire landscape of the industry.
Yeah, that is very cool. Gosh, that's a feature, honestly, before you and I got together, I didn't realize that that's also part of Decisio is, hey, let me help you figure out what it is that you should be subscribed to. As a diehard soccer fan, there's certain things that I have to be subscribed to. Ideally, I'd love to find shows that I like on those platforms. And it's really cool hearing that you have that catalog. You have that awareness of what's in all of those different places, which leads me to all of us entrepreneurs are builders. We're also curious to hear behind the scenes of what the heck it's taken up to this point to build the things that other business owners have. Chris, I feel like this is such a complex landscape of data, of cataloging, of archiving, of recommending. You already talked about your patent pending for the mechanism through which people are discovering things. How the heck have you tackled actually bringing this stuff to life so we're not talking about an idea?
Yeah, so right now we are in our beta versions on both the iOS and Google Play stores. And I want to emphasize this is a beta, still work in progress. We're very early. I built the beta product 100% myself. My engineering background. I miss engineering. As a product manager, I love to dive in still. So I built it 100%. But we have a team of 7 now. We're growing. So I have 2 full-time engineers right now that are focused on getting the permanent app done. Because what I built can sustain about 50,000 users. And so that's enough to get us to the point of funding. Where we can then scale out, and the timing of that with our permanent app is very, very critical. But to your point, my vast data background, I did database engineering for about 10 years. So I've been doing a lot of data work. I would say the app is 90% data, 10% UI right now. I also just brought in a UX advisor to help us streamline the UI a little better, because we know it's not perfect. As we know with any beta versions, there's going to be a lot of complaints, a lot of things that aren't necessarily the right way to do it, but we know we're in the end where you're getting the right results, and that's the thing I wanted to start out from the gate, is making sure the recommendations were solid to great, to ensure that folks want to continue to use this as we make the platform better. One of the most interesting things about this is some folks have asked me how much AI is involved, and there's a decent amount of AI involved, but I had to scale it back because I initially tried to go more AI heavy, but here was a fascinating analysis I did. I spent about a week doing this. And I came to find out that AI has about a 40% false positive of what is currently on the catalogs of the streaming providers. That's a huge number. So I couldn't rely on AI for that. So I had to go really, really old school, creating old school ETL processes to actually extract, load, and transform from the different different pipelines that I have access to make sure our catalogs are up to date. That's how I knew the Netflix number of around 8,000 total titles. I can tell you Prime has 20,000 movies, about 8,000 20,000 movies, about 8,000 TV shows. These catalogs are robust. So we have to make sure that this data is curated, is clean, is functional, so that you're getting the experience that you need to ensure you're getting the right recommendations.
Yeah, I'll share with you as a creator, obviously as a podcaster, and I know that that's somewhere in your roadmap at Decisio. I'll just actually let's use that as an example, because podcasting is a fun platform. However, Chris, transparently, as podcasters, our biggest beef with this platform is the fact that there is no discovery engine, and so we always hope that our listeners will share the good word about the work that we're doing here with their entrepreneurial friends, or they'll see us on LinkedIn, and obviously we work hard behind the scenes to widen our distribution channels. But Chris, the industry's starving out for discovery engines, and I think to myself, and I know that you're a big fan of indie creators as well, how many incredible indie creators are out there creating shows, creating movies that we're never going to find. It's never going to hit that front page of Netflix, especially in an era where Netflix, I mean, just today, the day that you and I are recording this, they are hosting a tennis tournament with the 6 best tennis players in the world. Netflix is a production company at this point as well. So how do you view the leg up for indie creators? Why is that such a strong emphasis? And most importantly, I'm just going to load this question for you. How the heck can we as indie creators get in on the action? Because we all are doing really great work that we want to share with the world.
So one of the things, I'm going to give a shout out right now to a studio that is our first partner, Big Squid Productions. They just released a film called ZombieCon Volume 1, and I will be transparent, I am a zombie fanatic. I love zombie genre, it's my favorite. And then you give me an indie zombie film or a Korean zombie film, I'm going to go even more crazy for it. So in this case, they reached out to me. They saw the platform. They like what we're doing. They asked if I'd be interested. So we're showcasing them now. But I'm going to emphasize we're showcasing it on our social media because I love it, not because I want to try to just give them a leg up. We also want to make sure we're also showcasing quality content. But at the same time, with our platform, we're going to be having some opportunities for any production studio, whoever it is, to have what's called a coming soon title on there. So you can actually have your coming soon titles ahead of time, so folks can swipe up or down and give real-time analytics back to the studios, while at the same time exposing everyone to these new titles coming out. I think that's important, that no matter who you are, you have the same ability to post on this and have these coming soon titles. So the day, if you said you want to see it the day it drops, you get a push notification saying, hey, that title you want to watch is out. So it's all things are equal here. No one's getting a leg up. No one's going to be able to spend more money to advertise, because we're always going to be a free app, advertising free. That's important for us to ensure that we're staying uniform across the board to give everyone equal footing. From the podcast standpoint, funny enough, that was going to be further down our roadmap, but our very first investor, who's a huge podcast fan, said, what do you think about doing podcasts a little early, because nothing exists, to your point. The more research I did, he's 100% correct, and as you said as well, the discovery mechanism. So we're speeding up the process on podcasts to try to get that out around the first of the year, because there's about 100,000 podcast titles out there that no one knows exists.
Yeah, 100%, Chris. You are doing important work there, and I think that that's so incredible. You called out something. I just feel like you're echoing all of our most important principles behind this show, and we've obviously been at this since 2016, a long time, serving entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs all over the world. And I'll transparently, I mean, listeners know this is no secret, Chris. We are ad-free for a reason. Listeners love the fact that we are ad-free. It is such an important virtue behind this show. I have been offered advertising dollars and sponsorship dollars for a long time that we consistently say no to. I love how much you've embraced that. Please talk to me about that side of your approach, because people think I'm crazy when they hear about the brands that we've turned ad dollars down from, and I want to leverage your mind and your perspective on this to share that with our audience, because I think it's so important to build that customer experience.
Yeah, there's two reasons. One, and I'm going to use this is a word I learned at AWS, and it's probably the best word I learned there, delightful. I want everything to be a delightful experience. I want everyone to use this and know that when they use it, it's going to give them what they need and not be inundated with ads. I think one of the worst things that Facebook ever did was put ads on it. And I think since then it's gone down. And while they make an exorbitant amount of money from ad revenue, their data is still worth 90% of their value. Data is where the value is. If we're providing unbiased, clean data, there's value in a company. So we have value without having to advertise. And the second reason is I don't want to ever be influenced. I feel that when we look at the world landscape today, being influenced by money generally then leads to what we're seeing with Rotten Tomatoes. They were great before they were acquired. Now they're acquired. Now they're advertised heavy. Now they advertise every big blockbuster 7 times a day on Instagram. I don't want to do that. I want to be unbiased. I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to watch what's going to work for them and not influence them in a way that's going to help someone make money.
Yes, so well said. Oh, you're preaching to the choir here, and I'm so grateful for you being part of that mission, because this is what you said. That's how I feel as a podcast host. So I'm just like, I don't want to have to tell everybody that insert company name here. So many just came to mind, and I'm just like, insert company name here is the best of the best, because if it's motivated just by ad dollars, then how much merit is there? I naturally talk about a lot of brands that I know and love and trust here on air, because those are valid recommendations from me personally. And so, Chris, along those lines, I'm going to ask you the question that everybody always asks me of, well, what's the business model then? How are you going to make it sustainable? Obviously, you've given a lot of thought to that, so it'll be cool to hear how you've navigated that answer, which is an important one.
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 ways for the movies and TV shows version. The first is going to be, eventually we're just going to sell the data once we have enough. We know that the data is going to be key. Again, that's going to be the insight. So if a production company, a marketing company, a streaming provider wants access to the data, they're going to have to pay for it. We're also going to eventually create our own LLMs we'll license out, because I had mentioned that 40% false positives. We want to be known as the most accurate LLMs on the internet of any AI for the entertainment industry. And then the third is, if you do want to post your coming soon title, that is going to be a cost, because you're going to get access to the analytics of it. So we're not charging you to post a coming soon. We're going to charge you to get the analytics behind it of how it's trending. So those are the ways we're gonna generate revenue there. Now with the book side, because books generally are still a very physical format. A fun stat: over 1 million print books are sold every day in the United States. I was not aware that it was that high anymore, but it's still pretty high. So there's a big need for books sales still. So we're going to have affiliate programs. So when you find something you like, buy now. It takes you to whoever we have the affiliate program with. And right now we're working really hard to actually try to work with Powell's Books, if you've heard of them in the Pacific Northwest. I'm shouting them out right now, hoping they'll hear this. So they'll actually return my calls. But to work with them as our affiliate to help, because they have phenomenal distribution. They can rival Amazon with their distribution of books. But they're a mom and pop. They're still privately owned by the original owner's daughter. And they're up here in the Pacific Northwest, thriving and just being the go-to. They're a tourist destination when you come to Portland. So I want to also help those kind of facilities elevate them as well to compete with the Amazons of the world, the Barnes and Nobles who are making a comeback.
Chris, it's such a treat being able to interact with you here on the air, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't often hear founders like you who are focused on a technology and a data-driven company, but also very clearly focused on the importance of marketing and distribution, but also very clearly focused on strategic partnerships and affiliates. You're really canvassing the entire executive responsibility here that all of us need to step into in our own businesses. You've got to take us behind the scenes into your executive mind there and your executive habits of how the heck are you wearing all of these hats? Because these are all such different functions and facets of your business, but even in a very short conversation together today, I feel like they're all on display. So where's that coming from? How are you organizing it? How are you executing on all these different fronts?
Well, first I'll say I was blessed to have a mother who was one of the first industrial electricians in the Chicago Harbor area. Can't say that about many. She actually was the first woman in the Chicago Harbor to be an industrial electrician. If she was still alive today, this is what she'd be doing. So I was blessed with her brain. So first, I just want to mention that. My mom, near and dear to my heart. So beyond that, it's listening. Sitting in the room, knowing I'm not the smartest person, listening to everybody else. Throughout my career, it's always been important to listen to the leaders, take notes, understand how we fail and how we succeed, and learn from those failures so we can succeed down the road. So a lot of trial and error. I'm, into my 40s. I'm long career between being a database engineer and now a product manager. Master's degree in project management, business law with an undergrad in database design. So I've just touched it all, and I've really, really sat back and really tried to learn and understand And that's why now I feel like it's the right time for me, because I feel like I've done enough in my career to understand the true end-to-end scope of all this, that now I'm putting it in play, but I'm also surrounding myself with the right people, and that's key. The right people, so when I don't know the answer, or if I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in that realm, I have the right people to rely on and give me advice. The number 2 right now at Decisio, her name is Lisa, and she is amazing. Just graduated with her executive MBA, and I like to call her my yin to the yang. And she, well, I'm the excitable. She's the one that brings me in all the time to say, let's slow down, let's think about this, this might not be the right approach. And having that person, I think, is also key. I think everyone needs that person that's going to rein them in. And at times, we can use that word Debbie Downer, because that's what, some people look at it as, but I look at it more as the person who's bringing me back to earth, so we can make sure we're looking at it the right way.
Yeah, I love that. It's so cool, your emphasis on people. And it sounds to me, and I want to go deeper here, it sounds to me like you've really picked up so many different things along your professional career, that you've kept the things that you've loved as you're building your own company. You've probably changed some of the things in entrepreneurial terms, but I would imagine working behind the scenes, companies Nike, AWS, these are huge brands that we've all loved, known, used in so many different capacities, and they've shaped their industries, which is obviously a mission that you are set out on in your own entrepreneurial career. What are some of those things that you've stolen from your professional career and said, you know what, I want to embed that into the way that we operate? And then I'll put you on the spot here. Conversely, what are some of those things that you said, you know what, we're going to do things a little bit differently at Decisio? What do those look like?
I'll start with the difference first. And I think Amazon was my biggest. Amazon has become a very engineering-driven company since Jeff Bezos has stepped down. And product managers don't have nearly the sway they used to there. So for me, it's definitely not going to that engineering focus, but being very product focused and being very customer focused and making sure that the customer is getting the experience they need. That's the one thing I definitely have not taken away from AWS. Now, what have I taken from there? Data-driven, making data decisions. Like I said, I spent a week doing the analyst on if the AI was the right solution for pulling in the data. So being data-driven on decisions is key for me for that. From Nike, innovation, trying things, failing. Nike has their maxims, and one of them is about trying to fail so you can learn, and you can fix it, and you can find the right way. I love that. I love the idea of not worrying about failing, so that you can so if you are wrong, you can see why you're wrong and then fix it next time.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like we often hear about in entrepreneurial terms and business terms, but Chris, it's one of those things that's much easier said than done. And I think that a lot of people, speaking to a data person, it's fun to ask you this question. A lot of people have analysis or paralysis by analysis, where they are looking at the data, they are looking at market trends. And because of AI and ChatGPT, it's never been easier than before to do deep research and to get your finger on the pulse of what's happening in those different industries. I, on the other hand, started my first business when I was 19. So, Chris, I didn't know any of those things. I just viewed it all as a massive experiment. And I was like, let's see what works. I was a college kid. I didn't have real responsibilities. I could take those risks. What does that look like in your business? How are you implementing that? Because it sounds to me like you're a data-driven guy that also fully embraces experimentation, which, saying that out loud, makes me realize probably the full purpose of experimentation is to get data back. So, are you just willing to launch everything into the world and get data back? Or are you making educated guesses? How much are you analyzing from data before taking action? Walk us through that.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a hard one, because you're right. There's a fine line of trying to balance between the two sides, and when you're trying to hurry up and get to that funding and hopes, we're starting to gain some traction, and the biggest fear now is, are we going to start to be replicated, right? So I have to make those decisions of, should we wait or should we move fast to make sure we can get that market, that stronghold in the market before someone big comes and takes us over. So right now it's definitely about moving at a brisk pace. So we're not sprinting, but we're definitely moving quickly with decisions and getting things out, while at the same time being careful to not overdo it, to not put something that's going to give a bad taste in our users' mouth. So we are being careful there. And I'll give you an example. Eventually, this stuff's all going to lead to eventually down the road, years down the road, potentially, a dating app called Decisio Dating that's going to use all this data to match people. Now, could we do this now and have it all in parallel? Sure. But if we try to do too much too soon, one of my fears is not only are our users going to be like, well, what is this company really? And potential investors are going to say, you've taken on too much. So we're trying to Goldilocks it. And I think that's the right word, Goldilocks. We're trying to Goldilocks this to find the right, find baby bears, porridge every time. For each decision. But at the same time, we have to be quick. So we are going to make mistakes. Some things are going to go too fast and flop. Some things might go a little too slow that we should have probably gone a little quicker with. But overall, I feel like we found the right speed at this point. And I feel that, come New Year, we're going to be someone that most people know the name of.
Yeah, I love that. Chris, I feel like that's something that's so hard to learn as entrepreneurs, but not just entrepreneurs, as people in general. I did a podcast episode about this once where I couldn't think of a better title other than Be Ready to Move Fast or Slow, because both of those require you to be ready and be mentally prepared. We have to be ready to move fast, but we equally have to be ready to move slow, because we as entrepreneurs, we have so many ideas. There's no shortage of ideas. It makes me want to ask you, what's that time horizon look like for you? Because it's clear to me that you have the capability of zooming in, but also zooming out big term. I'm a big fan of quarters. I think that we can get so much done in 90 days. And when you stack 4 quarters in a row throughout the course of a calendar year, holy cow, there's so many things that we can transform in that. Are you looking out, because as a technical founder, you also obviously have a very intentional roadmap, because what we're seeing from Decisio is not something you thought of yesterday. It probably took months to make it a reality. So how are you playing with timelines in your head? How far out are you looking? I'd love to hear how you think about that.
Yeah, so I have the 30,000 foot view at about 3 years right now, but I have the Series A round at a very granular view. So right now we did, like I mentioned, we had got our first investment recently, and we're starting this week to do a huge marketing push with that investment, so we can start to get that traction. But we also got to be careful there, because to your point, too fast, too slow. If we hit that 50,000 user mark before our permanent app's done, then I'm in trouble. So we got to find that right flow. So right now we are on all, we're gun-ho about getting the permanent app solution that can house several million users by the first of the year. Once we hit that, then we'll incorporate podcasts and books shortly after. The goal is in Q1 to have both podcasts and books. We are a traditional quarter with the fiscal year to the regular year, thankfully, because we did launch January 1st of last year. So we are looking at getting both podcasts and books in Q1, so we can start to gain that traction there, and at the same time start hopefully get some daily revenue in, so we don't have to rely on the data sales down the road as quickly. But right now, as we're getting this traction, the closer we get to 50,000 users, we want to make sure we're setting up our next round of investments to help fund that marketing going into the new year, so we can try to go after Series A sometime in very early Q2.
Yes, I love that. Chris, gosh, I know we're talking about quarters in advance, but it's very clear to me that you are taking action. You are not wasting time in any regard. And I feel like it's very clear why you operate that way, because it's so abundantly obvious, the fact that you are a visionary thinker, but also a really tactical action taker. And I think that it's such a rare blend to find, and why I'm very excited to ask you this final question that I ask of every guest that comes on the air. And that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? You've dropped so much entrepreneurial nuggets of knowledge on us today, but you have to remember, we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys. So as one of us, as a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one piece of advice you want to leave them with today?
Ask the right questions. There's a lot of people out there that say they want to help, and many do, but you have to ask the right questions to make sure that they're not only the right fit for you, you're not going to waste money or time with the folks that aren't the right fit. So having all the right questions to ask those that are reaching out to help. I will say on a daily basis, I get 10 to 20 emails a day offering some kind of assistance. 99% of them are not relevant to what we're at now, or not relevant to what we will be. So asking the right questions, understanding, so that you can ensure that you're spending money in the right spaces, the right places.
Yes, I love that. I often say, if you ask the right questions, you're going to start to find the right answers. You ask small questions, you'll find small answers. Big questions, you'll find big answers. Chris, you are asking all the right questions of yourself, of your team, of your market, and it's so cool to see this growth. Sounds like I personally have a lot to look forward to in Q1 as you guys expand into the podcasting world. So I'm very excited for me personally to follow along with your journey, but also very excited about the fact that you're solving a problem that all of us face. You've got to drop those links on us for listeners who want to find Dysio and start using it, super big congratulations to you and your team for getting it out there on the App Store. So drop those links on us. Where the heck should listeners go from here to find out all the great stuff that you're rolling out?
Yeah, so Decisio, if you search on iOS for Decisio Media, Google Play as well. We also have a web version, app.decisio.media. It works great on laptops, especially if you have a tablet or laptop that swipes. It works as well. I built it in a manner that it's going to work in an app or on the web. App.decisio.media. The links are also there to download directly as well. Decisio.media also has the links to the app stores as well. But again, if you search Decisio Media on either app stores, it's going to pop right up, and you'll see that we are starting to gain some traction there as well. But yeah, you can download it and start using it today.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. So scroll right on down. You can click right through or just fire up your phone's app store. I mean, that is for sure the easiest way, but we're dropping all those links. We're also dropping a link to Chris's personal LinkedIn page. So you've heard him talk about partnerships, about affiliate relationships, about all this strategic stuff, as well as investment on the horizon, of course. So if you are in any of those camps and you want to reach out to Chris personally, find his LinkedIn down below. Otherwise, Chris, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks.